Titans, the Steelers. Lots of fans needing to know lots of different things. We'll break it down for you. Will Selva's out in the newsroom in Culver City, though. Hey, Will, take it away.
All right, thank you, Kate. Appreciate that. Well, the Bills making the playoffs, of course, for the second time in the last 3 seasons. Their fate is already locked in as the 5th seed in the AFC playoff picture. There's still, though, a lot to play for, or not a lot to play for, rather. But Sean McDermott plans to have his starters out there Sunday against the Jets. That includes quarterback Josh Allen. It's unknown how much the starters will play, but on sitting his starters, McDermott says, quote, "We don't have the numbers for that. And there's always the chance of a key player getting hurt in a meaningless game, but Allen isn't concerned about that risk."
Well, I mean, there's risk in practice. There's risk driving around, especially up here in the snow. There's risk all over the place, and you know, we get paid to play this game. That's our job, to go out there and play it. So we're not thinking of injuries or anything like that. We're just trying to go get another win. You know, good opponent coming up, and I'm sure they want to come in here and end the season on a good note too. So we're preparing really hard. You know, our coaches have a good game plan in, and it's one that we want for sure.
Meanwhile, the Saints had a couple of names showing up on their injury report, and not just any names. No, quarterback Drew Brees dealing with a knee injury, and receiver Michael Thomas a hand injury. Both listed as limited. We'll see, though, if there's really any effect on their playing status Sunday against the Panthers. The Saints, of course, can capture the top seed in the NFC with a win in either a Packers or Niners loss. Now, Lamar Jackson set the single-season quarterback rushing record with 1,201 yards to go along with his 36 passing touchdowns. He was clearly grateful for the protection from his guys up front. So to show his gratitude, Jackson bought his offensive linemen Rolex watches. And guard Bradley Bozeman saying, quote, "I had a Bolex, the fake Rolex, that costs you about $30. This is by far the nicest watch I have by leaps and bounds." So Bozeman having a Bolex. I don't know how many of you have a Bolex, but either way, now he's got the Rolex there. Pretty cool.
They also, I think, used to have a Bowflex, right? The
Yes.
home fitness product, right?
Here's the thing, real talk, full transparency. I didn't have a Bolex, but I had a Folex.
You did?
Yeah, you did.
Man, when I first got in the league, I didn't buy anything real. Fake diamonds everywhere. Yeah, man, I bought the athlete starter kit. I was looking like a bootleg rapper.
That's it? Fooey baton, all that type
all
of
that,
stuff?
all that
I
food.
love it, my man.
That's
So
awesome.
what are the rules of gifting in the locker room?
I think the richest dude should take care of that side of the ball. It's like the unwritten rules, especially if you're in a position of leadership, like the quarterback or the linebacker. You don't have to. But I think guys are kind of waiting for you to walk into that locker room.
Really?
Yeah, with some type of gifts or a gift in the locker room.
Better gifter, Dante Culpepper or Matt Stafford? You're on the clock, Nate. Who is the better gifter?
Ooh, I would say Dante Culpepper. Yeah, Pep, he gave big gifts, and he always had parties at his house, always took care of dudes. He would literally pull money out of his pocket and give it to guys in the locker room that didn't have it. Always covered the meal. That's the one thing I learned, that the wealthiest player at the table reaches for the check first. And I've done the same thing.
Not at this table.
I know.
I know, Peter never pays, man.
Yeah, right.
The regular season wraps up this weekend. Let's break
Nate
down
and his
some of
dinosaur
the,
arms.
I can't reach it.
the biggest storylines from Week 17. It's called Big Deal or No Big Deal. The Patriots offense looks like it is in postseason form, and they looked that way against the Bills on Saturday. Big deal or no big deal? Shriggs, I'll start with you because you were there. The Patriots ran for 143 yards during that game.
They're figuring themselves out. I think it's a huge deal, Kay. And you saw Rex Burkhead had that touchdown run. What you might not have seen in the highlights was a lot of Sony Michel and a lot of tough blocking. They've got this new fullback, number 52, Landon Roberts, who's been there for 3 years as a linebacker, played 21 snaps at fullback on Saturday night, and he's leading the way. Remember, no Devlin, no Andrews, no Dwayne Allen, no Gronk, so they've been missing all their blockers. They're kind of figuring themselves out at the perfect time. Power football wins, whatever works. I think that this is a huge deal. They've got their groove against a good defense. That Bills defense is good.
It's clutch timing, too. You know, like when the check comes and Nate's in the bathroom. It's just gone. Nate, you ordered 12 shots of Parrot Bay. You don't want to be here for the check? Massive. I remember last year at this time, you guys were getting annoyed with me because every single segment I would talk about James Devlin.
Yeah, he's a
Turned
big
out to
deal.
be really big. Trust me, we're going to be talking a lot of Landon Roberts right now. A lot of them. Just in time, and you think, oh, and Peter, you've done this too. Where's the offense coming? Where's it coming? Very scary last week, because not just against anybody, that Bills defense brings it perfect timing, perfect recipe. You know, you saw Edelman play defense. You saw Troy Brown play defense. They got Landon Roberts playing offense. Scary guys. Don't let them get started.
They don't need a guy down a
they do.
threat.
Oh, they do. They do. But this helps.
Against, like, the Ravens.
Yeah,
Against
but this
the Chiefs.
helps.
I'm still looking for that.
Oh, I'm going to go with big deal as well. You know what, though?
Close your tabs, Nate.
I know how to do it. I know where I'm going with the big deal. Here's the thing about this offense. It's like we were all asking, what's the deal? What's the deal with this offense?
Yeah.
Why can't they get their run game going? Why can't they get their pass game going? But just like you said, you got Rex Burkhead, James White, who put up major numbers in the passing game. I feel like they do the best at keeping their running backs on ice to the time that matters. And right now, this is the time that matters. December, January. They will be the most consistent running attack. And that's also a short passing game with screens and dump-offs than any other team in the business because their running backs aren't beat up for 16, 17 weeks straight. It's almost like they work in shifts. Like, all right, you're going to get the month of September. You know what, Burkhead, I'm going to need you in December.
The late
all right,
shift.
hey, James White. We know what you like to do in January.
That's him.
So, yeah, I feel like it's a big deal.
That's how they got to the Super Bowl and won it last year.
That's right.
Of course, taking on the Chiefs and the Rams with their run game and time of possession. The Ravens locked up, speaking of great run games, they lock up the 1 seed. They have a first-round bye. They locked that up last week against the Browns. Head coach John Harbaugh says that Lamar Jackson will not play Week 17 in an important game for the Steelers. On the other side, big deal or no big deal that Lamar will not take a snap, not just for Week 17, but truly for 3 weeks, you guys. What's happening here?
I'm trying to work this out.
What you got? Any technical difficulty? We need IT out here.
I got it.
Let's go to the phones. Russ versus Russ. We'll take your calls. I think this is no big deal. There's a time and there's a quarterback of the Peyton Manning type, which they run up and get the 1 seed and they sit out for 3 weeks and they have no timing and they can't pass and they can't do any of that stuff. I'm looking at a 1,200-yard rusher. I do not want to expose him to 1 carry against the likes of T.J. Watt and Minka and all those maniacs on the Steelers. Their offense is different. The sport is different with him. This is not your typical Russ versus Russ. Get him the hell off the field. John Harbaugh knows what he's doing.
And it's so funny because I'm going big deal, but in the same kind of vein that it's a big deal that he does get 3 weeks off. So he just had 17 weeks of taking a beating and getting hard hits. Now to sleep in your own bed and go home and never have to board a bus and never have to board a plane for the next 3 weeks, that is huge, especially for a running quarterback who relies so much on taking impact and getting up after the next snap. I think this is enormous. I think we might see a better Lamar Jackson in January because we won't see him for 3 weeks.
What about Mark Ingram?
It's huge, huge. You don't have to deal with any questions about the calf because you could just take your time and get back. If you're not healthy after 3 weeks, then it wasn't meant to be. If you can get healthy, that's the only way to do it. Get that bye in week 17 off, and then the bye, huge.
I see both sides of this. I understand that he needs the rest. I mean, especially towards the end of the season, he took some unnecessary shots. But I do feel like there's something to just keeping the train rolling and staying on the field. I know we're talking about rest versus playing, especially right now in Week 17. But if you look at Tom Brady over the course of his career, there's not many times where he didn't play. It's almost like Bill Belichick looked at his squad and said, I want you guys to keep this same hunger, even if you're a little bit sore going into the playoffs. Like, what is he going to be like when he gets back on the field? Are they going to still have the same type of rhythm? And it's not just Lamar Jackson. It's also the players around Lamar Jackson. They're rolling right now, and they are flowing.
Yes.
What if all of a sudden that flow isn't the same once they get back on it? We've seen it happen before.
The next team Lamar plays will be coming off a huge playoff win. They'll have a head of steam. They'll be ready. It could be somebody crazy. It could be the Titans. It could be the Raiders. I don't know. But they'll be hot. Yeah. You better wake up fast.
There's also this little value of, like, Greg Roman now has 2 weeks to draw up an offense.
It's
Remember,
true.
They're so creative.
We saw what they did against the Patriots.
It's so different. So now he gets that extra week, and he's like, all right, I'm not worried about the Steelers this week. Let's think about all the other things we can do. I'm interested. I think that the Ravens are in really good
Would you feel differently about this Russ versus Russ if the question I asked you was about the Chiefs? Because you're saying it's the way he plays, the fact that he's gotten hit. He was limping around at moments against the Browns. Like, would it be different? Would you be against them resting?
It's tough to justify Mahomes and that arm out there in a game that's no.
Any team.
But the thing is, the Chiefs, I think, is a play for. Like, they could still get the 2.
No, I know.
So as
That's
long
what
as
I'm
there's
saying.
something, you got to get them out there.
If it's that situation where
Sure.
they've got nothing to play for, are you guys all across the board okay with resting?
I am, yes.
Because you're making it seem like it's because it's Lamar Jackson.
Extra special.
Peyton Manning got burned a couple different times.
Oh, dude, he would do it every year.
Not playing week 16 and 17, and they would lose in the playoffs, and you say, well, he was rusty. Well, I think Lamar and Mahomes and these guys, they might have a different kind of style of game.
We'll see if the risk is worth the reward. The Sunday night matchup, a huge one. Niners and Seahawks, they're playing for the crown in the NFC West. And if the Niners win, they have the 1 seed. They've got a first-round bye, home field throughout, all of the goodness that comes with that. Big deal or no big deal, Nate? The Seahawks are 10-1. 10-1, as Schrager said earlier in the show, against the Niners since 2014. 10-1!
Yeah, this is a big deal. I talked about it a little earlier in the show about having that big brother feeling over who you play. I've been in this league a long time as a player and now as a fan of it, just watching from a distance. And people don't want to believe this, but certain times you step on the field, you can look at that squad and know that you have an advantage. So I'll say it's a big deal.
No big deal. That's a different era, different time. And guess what? Your best cornerback now plays for us in the defensive leader. Richard Sherman wears these colors now, not the green ones. They're going to go up into Seattle. I think they take care of business. No big deal. Demons from the past, Cam Chancellor ain't walking through that building. Marshawn Lynch. Cam Chancellor.
Huge no. I find these stats very unfair. I'm not going to hold.
Hey, we weren't here yesterday. We couldn't do Whiteboard Wednesday. Do you guys want to do a Whiteboard Thursday?
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do a special edition, special segment. Let's go. The player that will have the biggest role in Week 17 is who? It's the end of the regular season.
Okay,
the biggest role.
all right, okay, all right.
I'm going to go under the radar.
Okay.
Let's see.
What you got, Shrey?
I'm going to go under the radar, too. It's a guy who plays for the 49ers, and if Marshawn Lynch is coming in that hole, I think Fred Warner is going to be waiting for him.
I love it.
If you guys haven't watched Fred Warner, he was a November Defensive Player of the Month in the NFC, and he made the biggest play of the season last week against the Rams. Right before halftime, the pick six totally changed momentum of this thing. We talk about Buckner, we talk about Bosa, we talk about Sherman. Fred Warner might be the defensive leader of this 49ers team, a second-year linebacker out of BYU. A lot of talk about Marshawn and Russell Wilson and what this offense is going to be. Fred Warner could be the silencer. I'm saying Fred Warner plays the biggest role next Sunday night.
All right, so we're familiar with beast mode, but I feel like things are different. I feel like he's going to turn into who I was yesterday, and that's feast mode.
Let's go, Nate.
Listen, I get it.
Eat him up.
It's cute, Shrey. I mean, listen, this is Marshawn Lynch. Do you think Marshawn Lynch is coming back and he's sitting in the locker room like, man, those 49ers are really good. And I'm scared. I'm scared because their defense is strong, and they like to hit. I mean, these guys are really bullies. No. Beast mode is back, and he's not back just to sell tickets. He's back to run guys over, run through their face, over and over and over and over again. I'm going with feast mode, beast mode, Marshawn Lynch.
Did you see The Irishman? You saw it.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
De Niro stomping out that guy at 70
My
years
hand.
old. Is that what we're going to get with is that what it is? Is it Robert De Niro at 70?
They made De Niro's face look 40 and his body was 130.
Is that what this is?
Yeah, hold hands.
Oh, God,
Oh,
the
my
worst.
God. It's like, hey,
Unbelievable.
buddy.
You know, Walker with tennis balls on the bottom. All right, Week 17 player that's pivotal. Week 17 is fun. It's weird.
Yes.
It's messy. Think Andy Dalton getting the Bills to the playoffs. Do you know Deshaun Watson limited with a back in practice this week? Not a ton to play for the Texans. Do you know who the Houston Texans backup quarterback is? Look, guys, this guy could have a say in who gets in the playoffs. I'm telling you right now, A.J. McCarron may play a major role against the Tennessee Titans. Imagine if A.J., who's been in a playoff game, who's been in national title games, who has a sushi restaurant in Tuscaloosa, inexplicably not named Sushi Roll Tide, could be the guy who knocks out the Titans. He may be in this game. A.J., I don't think he's afraid of anything. My guy, A.J. McCarron.
You need to open that sushi restaurant. You've been talking about it for years. Kyle,
Wouldn't you go there,
open it.
Kay?
Yes, I would. Of course I would.
It's Bear Bryant and Spanish mackerel. Who doesn't love that?
Favorite Christmas movie, Nate?
Favorite? Go Home Alone.
Okay, I was going to say that too. Home Alone's my favorite. I want to know the holiday movie that best describes any NFL team headed into Week 17.
All right.
Describes their season, describes their playoff hopes, just describes their identity as an NFL squad.
Okay.
I'll jump in first here. And Kyle, you miss it. It's a spicy Tua roll is what you The Baltimore Ravens are having an office Christmas party that has lasted the entire season. I think of that movie. It came out a few years ago. Hilarious. They are just enjoying themselves. And if you're looking for an image this weekend, look at that Ravens sideline.
Yeah.
They're all going to be on the sideline, whether it be Andrews, Ingram, Yanda, Lamar, and they're going to be cheering their butts off for Robert Griffin. It's been a party for Baltimore. Office Christmas party. It's been all season long. Baltimore Ravens. That's the movie for them.
All right, so I had Hallelujah, and you had spicy Tua roll.
Yeah.
So good.
Third hour, it's
rest
all on
helps,
you, buddy.
not rust.
No
It's
problem.
rest.
Rest first, Russ.
All right, I'm going with the Cowboys, and it's Scrooge. Because here's
I
the
love
thing.
Scrooge.
This is a Bill Murray adaptation of A Christmas Carol, right? Of course.
Dickensian.
Yes, the three ghosts come to visit you and all that. You know the storyline. But here's the thing. It's a guy with a lot of power, a lot of money, and Jerry Jones. Whether you want to say it's up to the players, it's up to the coaching staff, you might have just Scrooged yourself. I mean, you're the one that paid everybody, right? You paid Jalen. You're the one that got Zeke out of Cabo to come back, gave him the largest contract for any running back. You're the one that's getting talked to every single week and asked the question, when are you going to pay Dak Prescott? You're the one. You're the one that controls everything. So just like in the movie, you realize it's not about me. It's not about me. It's about everybody else. All right, so I'm going with Scrooge. It's one of my favorites.
Maybe Dak is finally the Bobcat Goldthwait. Just had enough. Mary Lou Retton's in that movie. He plays Tiny Tim. It's awesome. I'm looking at a team that's down to one man, and he's done it before, and he'll do anything to get the win.
What's that?
I'm doing Die Hard, and we're not going to do some pathetically exhausted debate of whether or not it's a holiday movie. Who cares? Think about this. John McClane, no shoes, on his own, fire hose around his waist, everybody's dropping around, and then suddenly he gets a friend. The police officer outside shows up out of nowhere. Carl Winslow shows up. That is Marshawn in this sense. Lieutenant Al Powell, who becomes his friend.